Can you tell me about your background and what brought you to the United States?
So I was originally born in Nepal, and I was born in a small refugee camp called Japa. So that's where I grew up for like about 8 years of my life before we moved to the United States in 2009 through the process of IOM. I'm not sure what like the full form stands for, but we came through that. And ever since then, we've been here, and we first came to New Hampshire, Manchester, before we decided to move to Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And we came here as a family of me, my siblings, my parents, and we started to go to school here. And then my brothers are graduated from college, one with an associate and one with a bachelor's in chemical engineering. And now I'm like the last one in the family to be attending college, so it's really cool.
Okay, so May is AAPI month. So what does that mean to you as someone that's in that community?
So I think it's a really cool thing that there is a API month which celebrates, all the minority groups that need to be celebrated. But at the same time, there's so much things going on here nowadays that you kind of just start to wonder, like, is there a reason for that day? Well, all these things are going on as well. So like what's actually being done to protect those people as well? Because I don't think I see a lot of that right now. So it does kind of affect me in a way where I know it's there to appreciate all those cultures that are there and stuff like that. But at the same time, I don't see it being protected in a way as well. So I guess just that. And I know many people that have migrated here or that were born here that are of these cultures have been able to do a tremendous job within like just the last 13 years. I know specifically with my community, I know my parents literally came here with like $300 in their pocket, and now they have kids who are very successful who are giving back to them as well. And there are so many other people within our community that have been able to start businesses, that have been able to just be involved in the government or like do all these different types of things. And it really makes me happy that we were able to come here and we were given that opportunity to be able to do that. But I know that all of them also struggled a lot more than they should have in that terms of getting to the place that they're at right now. So it's really cool to see how far all these like Asian communities have come from first coming here, specifically speaking for my community. Originally, my great-grandparents were originally from Nepal. So what the king of Bhutan wanted them to go and work for Bhutan for a little bit, but then they just went and they wanted to work. So like they stayed there and stuff like that. They had kids, their kids had kids and stuff. So it kind of just went on for a couple of generations, where at some point the king of Bhutan just wanted the original Nepali people to stop practicing their traditions and wanted them to take the way of like the Bhutanese traditions and stuff like that. So even though my parents were born there and lived there for like their entire life and stuff like that, they were still kicked out of Bhutan, and it was like a very brutal time for them too, because many were just kicked out of their houses were set on fire, they would just shoot people on the streets, and many women that were captured or anything like that were raped, and it was just like a horrible time. So they decided to just escape that part. And my mom was pregnant during that time too with my second brother, so she was pregnant at that time when that happened. And so they decided to seek refuge in Nepal.
What is the Refugee Journalism Project, and how are you involved in that program?
So the Journalism Project is basically a program where, Matt introduced me into this. Matt Johnson from CWS, he introduced me into this, and he was like, hey, there's a journalism project that's going on, and basically a journalist is going to train us on how we can write papers, different, researching what kind of information you need, how to format it, and things like that. And it's basically a couple week training where you would sit through each Zoom meeting. We did it through Zoom because of COVID and everything. So it's basically them teaching us how we can write papers and things like that. And one cool thing about that was it was people from all different cultural backgrounds as well. And they all, we got to choose the topic that we wanted to tackle within our community or that we saw in general. And most of us definitely did focus it on our community. And so we got to focus a topic in our community that we thought was a problem or that we wanted to tackle and things like that, and how we can go about that. So they basically helped us step by step on how we can create that paper, learning process of it, gathering evidence or research and things like that as well. So how we can approach people, how we can get experts on that, because you cannot just print whatever someone's saying because you don't know if it's true or not. So like finding those facts on how we can incorporate it into our article, and by the end of it you'll basically have an article that you have written for your community or like for a topic that you want to do it on, and it will be published in the Lancaster newspaper.
All right, so you were a part of that program. What did you write about for your project?
So I did my project on mental health stigmas within my community, because I believe that we have a lot of stigmas surrounding our community where if you have a mental health issue, you're basically labeled as a bola or pagal, which basically both kind of translates to you being crazy. So it's like if you have a mental health issue, you just deal with it, or it doesn't exist, or it's just put under the rug because they don't think that it's a real issue. So something as small as that can be treated through medications or the right therapy, or just by going to the doctor, it's kind of being told that, oh, like it doesn't exist, oh, you're crazy, like it's not true, and things like that. So kind of just labeling people. So I wanted to get rid of those stigmas that actually are there, and I wanted to see like what kind of people are actually going through this mental health stigmas, what can they tell me about it, and also what has like our experts within our community that have gained that level of education done on for our community. And it was really cool to see that there were research that was done on our community, so I was able to use that in order to use that as my evidence. So it was a research paper done by one of the doctors in Pittsburgh, and he did research on PTSD on our grandparents who had to flee from Bhutan to seek refuge in Nepal. So just that whole process caused a lot of PTSD, and it was one of the most, it was the biggest factor within our community. So I was able to conduct research on mental health stigmas within my community, asking people from all different ranges. So I asked my grandpa, I asked my mom, I asked my grandma, like everyone within my family as well. And I was also able to ask students that are in college, in high school, and also those in elementary schools. So I kind of wanted to get like a variety angle of what each of them thought about those certain topics.
Do you have any memories from when you were in Nepal for your first 8 years, and how have those memories and those experiences affected your life here in the United States?
Yes, I do have a lot of memories from that place, because it's kind of like the place where you're born and where you grow up. You play, you have your childhood there basically. So yes, I have had some good memories and some bad memories from there, but the best memory that I can remember is literally just running around with one of the tires and a stick, just chasing the tire, playing with that. But yeah, and also how that has affected me here today, it's because you never forget where you come from. So basically having those roots of coming from Nepal to here, you do have a lot of that background where you basically never had, you didn't even have chairs in schools, to coming here and being able to get that education that you want and things like that is really incredible.
So you mentioned that you're going to school right now. Besides being a student, what else are you doing as a career or extracurriculars?
So besides school, I have been involved in a lot of nonprofit and just helping our community out. So that starts with CWS as well. I'm a storyteller through CWS, where we advocate for immigrating families and refugees as well, and helping people understand different culture, different traditions, how to approach them. And I've spoken to a couple of different groups of people, like social workers, school, teachers and stuff like that. And specifically with social workers, they wanted to know how we can help members in the community and what approach to make to them, because not every community is going to be the same. So basically just educating them about my culture, what's offensive, what's not, what kind of questions you should ask to whom and such. And I've also been involved with Millersville University recently, where we created a club called Ridge to help immigrating students and refugee students. We have Camp Migrant here, but those are just for migrant students. So that's very limited to what kind of students get that. So we want to be able to help all the students that are here at Millersville that don't know as well, because so many of them struggle with FAFSA, so many struggle with college applications and such. So we want to be able to help them all in those fields that they need it in. So we started this project hoping that we will be able to do it successfully next semester, because we just recently got it approved last semester. So I'm hoping that goes on.